Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Penny Bloom podcast. Today, we continue Cinema Surprise with Joseph's second pick of the project, The Book of Eli. It was released on January 15th, 2010, written by Gary Whitta and directed by the Hughes brothers, Alan and Albert. I am Colton Robertson, and I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up? What up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. We got a nice second first viewing for me. You've gone two for two so far.
Uh huh.
Tron Legacy and the Book of Eli on movies I've never seen, and I'm excited to talk it. How are you? This was an exciting revisit
hmm
for you. You said you hadn't watched it in years. It was one you remembered quite fondly.
Yeah.
How you feeling about it now on the other side?
Can't remember exactly when I first watched it, but man, it was just kind of a family movie that
Mm,
whenever we had a chance, we just kind of put it on, or if we couldn't think of a movie to watch, this was one of those in that rotation.
mm.
Um, and I think the last time I saw it was, yeah, it had to have been about a year at least. But it's always been fun. I don't know, nice memories. From day one, it was Denzel is just the guy.
Mm.
That's in 2010 probably when I watched this for the first time, or 2011. It's definitely in that stage. I thought he was a superhero, basically.
Right.
Like I'm like that's the only thing I focus on was I wanted to have a machete sword, sword. I don't know what you call
Oh yeah.
sword. Do you call that a sword? Or
I
is that
mean, it's a type of
machete?
sword. A machete's probably more apt, but
Yeah.
I don't think you go wrong calling it a sword because after all, the machete is a type of sword. You know what I'm saying?
The blade.
Um,
Just
the
yeah.
blade.
It's just
Yeah.
every thing I watch just lets me know I need to learn the ways of the blade. I don't know. It's just throughout time
Uh,
it's
yes.
necessary, um but no, as time has gone on, the movie has been I it hasn't been like just this on this watch that I'm like, oh, there's a whole religious twist to this movie. That dawned on me, before. But it's as I've been watching it more and more. That's the thing. I'm focusing on the actual story that's being told rather than just the action and
Mm.
coolness, the cool factors of the movie. And yeah, so it's nothing. We're fresh off Casablanca. So and we were just saying that's the movie, and I think we got just a good example of a movie here. We
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
arrived at. We're
No,
there. It's just a movie,
it's definitely a
and
movie. Yeah. No, I didn't like it as much as I like Tron Legacy as a first viewing.
mhm
I did enjoy Denzel Washington a great deal. I thought Gary Oldman had his moments. I
mhm
enjoyed seeing Ray Stevenson popped up. Didn't know I was in for that. Every time I see Ray
man,
Stevenson, it is a welcomed surprise.
the
Because
web.
he's
Yeah,
yeah,
he just
rarely the leading man, but always a strong supporting character. And every time he pops up, I'm like, fuck yeah, it's Ray Stevenson, baby. R.I.P. to a legend.
man.
I loved seeing Jennifer Beals, who I'd most recently seen in the Book of Boba Fett, as she's the fine ass Twi'lek who runs the bar. Um,
That's right. Oh my
yeah,
god.
that was a
Mhm.
fun one. I liked seeing her there. And Mila Kunis is the second in command here, essentially, in terms of second lead. And I grew up watching that '70s show, so there's that. Um,
Yeah, in real life, like what her and her husband do in real life, like they seem like really good people, but acting,
Sometimes
um, I think at least like court, I don't know, at least they seem to be fighting like pedophilia and
they
and
have
and
they
the
they
human
fight a good
trafficking
fight through the
thing.
organization,
Um,
and then
is that just a public thing? Maybe.
it could be, but like then like
But
their homie, their best friend, Danny Masterson, is getting locked away for rape, and they're like, "Oh, he's a good guy though. Don't worry."
hmm,
It's like,
okay.
well, you rape people, so
Well,
um,
she's an actress in the
she
movie.
is. That's
She is,
definitely the
and
truth.
that's another lesson is that there is the actor and there's an actor.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's when you have like just Denzel and Gary Oldman going toe to toe with each other, and then like Mila Kunis has to step in
Mila
and
Kunis suffers from, she's like the premier example on the actress side of things of like same uh, same acting, different role.
mm,
Usually when that's the case, I think of actors. I usually think of like Jason Bateman, but even he's like good. He's good at that one
yeah,
thing.
mm,
She reminds me of Paul Walker, another R.I.P. here.
hmm,
Paul Walker booked a lot of roles, because he was an attractive man. My boy could not act. My boy was not a very good actor.
mm-hmm,
And I think a similar thing could be said for Mila Kunis here. Um, she comes on screen for the first time and she immediately doesn't fit. Like when her hair's tied up and she's behind the bar and stuff, I'm like, you're way too clean.
yeah.
Like you look way too good to be here. You know,
Stop. Wait. Oh, it's
please.
wait or
No,
or
stop,
stop, please.
please.
Yeah, stop, please. And then like, okay. I think
No,
he's
and I
like
mean, like
he.
there are certain roles where Mila Kunis does like
Mm,
this thing she does works. Friends with Benefits with Justin Timberlake. She's acting opposite Justin Timberlake.
mm,
So it's
yeah.
fine. You can get away with that. You can't get away with acting across from Denzel Washington and Gary Oldman. And
There's not
that's
much.
fine. Not a
Yeah.
lot of people can.
Not
Um
much comedy here, you know. And her vein is just in the comedy
she is a little funnier. She is funny.
route, you
She's got
know.
she's a witty actress for sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just I I I I wonder how pressing and difficult a job this was for her. Just like pressure wise, like knowing you're going toe to toe with Denzel fucking Washington for most of your scenes can't be
Yeah.
like
And knowing the
exciting. I
script,
mean, like it'll be exciting because I'm acting with Denzel Washington, but it's got to be like, oh God, I'm not Denzel Washington. Like
they laid it on to believe like they were going to make another movie.
they were gonna
Like
try to, yes.
like they wanted her to be the lead of the next movie. And like clearly, like that is what the ending implies. So like she knew this reading the script. Like
Hmm.
that's the plan. It just
To explore this world a little bit, and maybe it's not. Maybe it wasn't
I
the
mean,
plan.
it's complete. What else are you gonna do? What are you
Yeah,
gonna
no,
do at
that's
that point? Spread the word of religion? And how are you gonna make what are you gonna make a movie?
yeah.
That's not the I don't know. In a post-apocalyptic world, you're gonna like not much you can really do. I don't know what to do. Um,
No, yeah, and that was at the core of this movie was a really cool idea. This is a really good example of a movie with a lot of really great ideas and not a lot of fantastic execution. Like literally, I think the best thing about this movie is Denzel Washington and Gary Oldman, and I think that aside from that, it is a lot of like their concepts that are cool versus their execution. Like I love
mhm,
that the motivation here for Gary Oldman is get the Bible, because if we have the Bible, we can weaponize ideology and we can manipulate masses into doing what we want because the good book says so.
mhm,
And he was like, it worked before, and that was a great moment. I loved that. That was a wonderful little tidbit. I think he's talking to Redridge at that point. He's like,
mhm,
that's why this book is so important. um and I appreciated that a great deal. I thought that there was all sorts of stuff to like there, and you know i was I was bored for more of the movie than I would have liked to be.
mhm,
Um, like I paused. It was an interesting thing because the movie moves quick. It gets past you. It's not one that you're like, God, when will this be over or anything? But we get to like Gary Oldman's bar and Denzel Washington's upstairs with Mila Kunis for the first time. He's teaching her how to, set the table and stuff, which might be one of my favorite scenes. I really do enjoy that. They say grace and everything. Like I like that scene. That's strong. That's 46 minutes into the movie.
damn, yeah.
I'm like, what happened before that?
He's just going west.
And so like that's the thing is that like
Yep.
I I'm like I'm not like, it's such a bizarre thing because I wasn't like, Jesus, we took so long to get here or anything. Like, no, it was quick. It moved fast. But I was legit sitting there when I paused it at 45 minutes in going, what the fuck happened before we even got here? Like he beats a couple asses. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't beat a couple asses and then he beats a few more asses and then it's like that. And so no,
Yeah.
like the action stuff was cool. Denzel Washington is a fantastic action performer. He actually did all his stunts for the hand-to-hand combat scenes, which is really, really cool.
Hmm.
Um,
Man.
which is interesting considering the visual language of the movie didn't require him to do so. Felt like a
Yeah.
lot of it was shrouded in shadow and darkness and
That's
silhouetted
what I
and
was gonna
stuff,
say. When he
which
stepped back into the tunnel and it was
mhm,
like all shadow, that's still him in there. Like,
still Denzel,
hmm.
according to what I read. I don't know
I
for
mean,
sure, but
he is. It's not like he's making crazy movements. It is just very
no, no.
swift and like calculated movements. So I could. I mean, I see him actually doing that.
No,
And
and he's a fantastic stage combatant. He's really good at that. There's a fantastic Shakespeare adaptation that I've only ever seen. Like, I shouldn't say fantastic because I haven't seen it, but I've heard fantastic things about it. The Tragedy of Macbeth, which was directed by the Coen brothers just a couple years ago. Denzel Washington plays Macbeth, and Frances McDormand's in it, and it's got a fantastic cast. In fact, it was one of the movies I was considering for the surprise project, but now that a Denzel movie's been taken, probably won't happen.
oh,
Um,
oh, okay. I feel bad now for
no,
knocking that out.
don't
Um,
worry. Shakespeare stuff is difficult because it's not like they adapted Shakespeare to be easily understood. They are reciting Shakespeare, and that stuff can be
mm,
difficult to track, hard to watch, difficult to follow. It's a fun time, but it's a study. It's more a study than it is a viewing experience. So, anywho, um, that probably won't happen. But like Macbeth, he's the clips I've seen are him with a fucking sword just going to town. And it's similar to the action style in this as far as what he's doing, not
mm,
necessarily camera work or anything, but as far as what Denzel's doing, I think that when it comes to stage combat, he's fucking good. He's got that shit down. And
yeah.
it pays off in this one. That's one of the most exciting things about this movie is Denzel.
That's. I mean, the scenes there are some scenes that get sort of emotional, and it really isn't like. I think it is more of just what is going on, the bigger idea of what's going on that is getting like, and I think that is I'm understanding my movie watching and just my brain a little bit more. I think I just I take out what is like just the themes of a movie. What I remember of this movie is like guy want Bible to spread in bad way to take control. Like I just take the absolutely necessary kind of details out of a movie, and then I'm like, ooh, if that's a cool concept or an idea, then I kind of self glorify the movie
Mm.
itself, sort of thing.
At least you had at one point. I
Yes,
mean, yes, yes.
yes, and now that I'm just kind of, I have looked at just many movies under a critical eye. I can see that this is no, it's not it's nowhere near as made. It's not a great movie, you know. I this is it's an average movie. This is just
Yeah.
an average movie, and that's just kind
And
of
it's
what
one
it
of
is.
those ones that I mean, I I hate to undersell any creative, That's never fun. But the story and the bones of it are strong. I think that with a better writer, I I appreciate some of Gary Whitta's work.
Mm.
He did the story for Rogue One, um, which is another good example of, taking a good story and writing something good from it, because he didn't write the screenplay for that one. He wrote the screenplay for this one. Um,
Huh.
you
Okay.
know, um,
I've
he wrote a
always.
few episodes of Rebels, um, like 3 episodes of Rebels or something like that. So like it was one of those things where like Star Wars work, I've liked his work before.
Mm-hmm.
He actually wrote one of my favorite episodes of Rebels. So it was an interesting, and then direction wise, this could have been a lot more interesting. It
Yeah. I
was
always
it was
wondered
one of those.
what to change. Like, what do you like? what to add something to the story, or is it just to make certain characters stronger to get I don't like I've
I
always
really think it's just refining some of the character work. I think that it lays the bones before you really bear. Um, and the conflict, it's there's a difficulty here because they are telling a pretty biblical story, and biblical stories are typically very simple. They because they are to be told and passed down, and
yeah,
the
the
morals
Book
really
of
simple.
Eli.
Yeah,
Like
like it's
it kind of hit me this time the title like this would be
this
maybe the
is
last like
the
they would
Book of
add
Eli.
the Book
Yeah,
of Eli to the end of the Bible at the end,
he
whatever.
marched because faith told him to, and
And
he
Gary
he was
Oldman would be seen as the devil shooting him,
yeah,
but he
yes,
was
yes,
resurrected and let
so it has all these biblical type feels to it, and
mhm
that's fine. It's just that those stories are never character wise that well fleshed out because they don't need to be. It
mhm
is more about morals. It
yeah
is more about the and in that regard, I think this movie does a good job. I think that I mean, if this was a story in the Bible, it'd be a fucking good story in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? And that's cool. And it's just that when it gets adapted into, film, it's there could have they could have used a little more zest for me in terms of just, I and it is tough to decide what to change. I think that there is something there where, like I said, 45 minutes into the movie is the first time I feel like something happens.
mhm
Like we saw some cool stuff before that, but it was the first time I felt like something
that's the
of
first
note
true
occurred.
conflict. Yeah, like
Yeah.
the first like, oh
Um,
shit, like you have the
mhm.
book, like it
And
changes
I think there is a
everything.
little bit of a hindsight thing that makes the beginning really interesting. Like I like the idea that, he was granted sight so that he could complete this journey, and he was marching west based
Mm.
entirely on faith and all that stuff. But even so, I feel like there just needs to. Frankly, you could have gotten to Gary Oldman's place 15 minutes into the movie, and it wouldn't have changed anything.
Mhm. Yeah, they really build the world for quite some time. Like
Mm-hmm.
you shoot the cat, and he cooks it, listens to his music. Um, we'll get back to that of the music he
Mm-hmm.
listens to, I guess later on. But yeah, and just the slow walk, getting the guys in the tunnel, like walking
Mm-hmm.
up there, and then he keeps on walking, encounters people that he can't do anything about, and he says, no, stay on your path, stay on your path. It's just very slow, and then you finally get to the town, and you don't even really get to the bar. He's like, nope. Got to charge up my battery first, and it's like it's cool. It's like okay, we meet the
Yeah, no, like
engineer, and
they
it's
are doing some interesting world building stuff, but I think this movie could have done without the people he couldn't help, mostly because
mm,
even after the fact, I don't understand why he couldn't help them. Um, he does eventually real he goes to that point where after he's given up the book, even though he knows he won't be able to read it. After he's given up the book and he's talking to Mila Kunis's character, and he's like, I've been reading the book for so long, I forgot to practice what it preaches, like, and that's a cool thematic tie to the beginning where he doesn't help the woman who presumably gets sexually assaulted and murdered. Um, and that's one of those things where like, but it's a really, I think we could have done. He goes, he kills the cat, he eats, he spends that time in his cabin, he faces down with those dudes in the tunnel, he arrives at the town, he arrives at the place, he goes for a drink of water, and that's like, then we're 20 minutes into the movie versus
mm-hmm.
45 minutes into the movie.
Well,
um
that bar sequence.
Gnarly. That's
Yeah,
something you do need
yeah,
to keep.
like
um
and I'm one. He does say a Bible verse there, pretty sure, but like he basically says the equivalent of like all of you are about to become dust at the end.
yeah,
I don't know, like we all return to dust, whatever that line
to
was.
dust we shall return.
Was pretty
Yeah.
hard, yeah,
Yes,
and
super
and
cool.
and then in like he doesn't just stab people. He beheads them. I mean, their heads are rolling off like and clean too. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
it's three people's heads are off within, I think, 2 seconds. I mean, it's just slice, 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 and just effortless. And yeah, it's was very very nice. And then you get that Mila Kunis stop, in there all of a sudden. But no, that the action I do like. Denzel, I think, no, he's just kind of got it. The dude, no matter what, no matter how bad the writing, no matter how bad the movie is, if Denzel is in it and there is action at some point, he will just inherently make it good. Like
Oh
he
yeah,
won't,
yeah.
like he won't stand. I don't know. I feel like he just won't stand for something that's not like good action wise, because I've yet to see him in anything action that is not up to
Not
standard.
strong.
Yeah.
I'd be
So.
willing to bet one of the interesting things that I hadn't considered, and it occurred to me last night when I was thinking when I was watching him walk. Um, I don't have the verse memorized, so I had to look it up. But I thought of the path of the righteous man, as it is said by Samuel L. Jackson's character in Pulp Fiction,
Ah.
and I think we've got a pretty good basis for what this movie is based off of. Um, the path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Gary Oldman being the evil man, Denzel being the righteous man who's beset on all sides by the smelly dudes in the streets and
Mm-hmm.
Gary Oldman's people. And blessed is he who, in the name of charity and goodwill, getting the Bible West, shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, Mila Kunis, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers, Gary Oldman's goons and such. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee. I was like, I feel like that's a pretty strong basis for what the idea of this movie might have come from.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, he I love the diss that is his wife. What's her Jennifer Beals, her character name in this?
Claudia.
Yeah. What her, like, her kind of slant, like it's so close, but it might as well be miles away. Like her, and she can read it too. Like she
Yeah,
puts her hands on it, and she's like, like, oh my god. She's like, holy shit, I haven't felt this in so long. I don't.
yeah.
And I wonder, like, if there is some validity to losing the ability to read Braille. I don't know, but like, I'd assume it's like reading normal text. Like, I haven't if I
Once you
if
have it, you don't really lose it.
yeah, and I don't know if there's a difference there, so I don't want to come off as to say like it's just for sure. But like, I'm a her reaction, her acting at least leads me to believe she
Oh,
can
she could
read
read
it.
that. Yeah, she could
and
read
and
that.
she was like, finally, I can, I'm obviously, no, I am not going to, and he's gonna die anyways. That whole place was going down, and that, I guess, that copy really doesn't matter anymore. But I guess that's the sequel idea. Is, she'll return home, save her mother. Probably is the only story I see, is
Mm.
because that's the only person I care about. Like, I don't care. I want Gary Oldman to die. I don't care about all his goons. Like, Ray Stevenson, like his death at the end, like him just kind of looking at the sun and like kind of just accepting his death. Like, it was just kind of like a more of like his real, just the real life death. And just, yeah, I just teared up for that.
Mm.
But like, I don't really care for his character at all. He was like, he wanted to like own Solara. Like, he wanted, like, as his own, like, dude wasn't a good guy.
No.
um
Yeah, and
but
I don't find what I'm about to say is not a criticism. And I don't want it to seem that way. And I usually despise this take. When I hear it, I go, shut the fuck up. What do you mean? But this is the first time I've ever felt that a show would be better suited for this story. Um, I think it could have benefited from a longer, more fleshed out format where they get to explore all the characters. His journey is a long one that we don't get for 10 hours instead of 2.
Hmm.
It almost feels too, not too easy, but like when Denzel gets shot, I'm not worried. There's not an ounce of me that's like, oh, damn, they just killed Eli. No, like, Eli's going to be fine. And the fact that I can think that
Hmm.
about a character who gets shot in the middle of the stomach is
Yeah.
not a strong suit of the movie. Now, in a TV show, if that happens, in a 10 episode series, if that happens at the end of episode 7, at the end of episode 8, I'm going, okay, is Solara picking up the mantle? Is she going to be who continues the
Ooh.
story? And that's the thing, is that I rarely think that. In fact, I don't know that I've ever found that to be something I truly believe about a movie. Until this, I do think this would have been better suited for a longer format story where they got to explore the characters more vividly, or maybe we would be afforded time to do flashbacks to the world before and what
Mm-hmm.
happens and like the event that actually occurs. Um,
Yeah, just more character work. That would just make it better, and
mm,
and would be nice to have a lot more time. Like it would be nice if we saw flashbacks into Denzel's life and certain things that reminded him of his past life, or I don't
mm,
know, and maybe like a even though that him and Gary Oldman are like enemies, maybe they had this conversation that reminded them of the old time. Like they
yeah,
called it like we don't get many people from the old times or like from
yeah,
before. I
the
think is
before
maybe what
four
they
time. Yeah,
and it'd be really cool if they could like reminisce or something and
yeah, and that's
for a
one of
little
those
bit.
things
But
where like I think that you just get an opportunity to flesh out like Ray Stevenson's character a little bit more. Like that's one of those guys who, I mean, he should have been. They should have been able to do him justice in a movie. That's the other thing, is that like
mm,
the story they've set up, however, is also simple enough to accomplish in a 2-hour movie to a good degree. I think this had the opportunity to be a great television show, however. Like that's the difference.
yeah, it's
I
kind of
think
you're
this has
right
a
there.
certain this
Yeah.
has a certain ceiling as a movie. I think that it doesn't. I don't know what the ceiling is as a TV show.
No,
And
that
that's one of those things where like I think that it would just afford it the opportunity to just explore everybody a little bit more, everybody who is an important character, like there seems to be this regret in Ray Stevenson's character that you can't pinpoint. You don't know why. You just
mhm.
know that he's not entirely happy with what his life is. And it's like, okay. Um
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
And the way he dies is just like in all the chaos and everything. You just
Yeah, the car
the
tumbles and the
it's like the
sword
blade, yeah.
tumbles and hits him.
And he's like, "Oh, well, yep, that's about it." That's like that's can't really do much
Like
from
at
there.
the beginning of the movie, like why does he let Eli go? Like it's one of those things where I can gather why based off the limited information we have, which is that he doesn't feel like Eli is the right dude to kill. He doesn't feel like that's something he should do. Why then does he just off a motherfucker the second he fucks up uh upstairs, Like it's one of those things where like I think there's just inconsistencies that if you have more time to flesh out these characters, the more effective it could be, because this would be a nightmarish movie if it was any longer. But if it was a
Yeah.
series that was fleshed out, it could be really good, which is an interesting dichotomy to possess. Like you either need 2 hours or you need 8 to 10 to figure
Yeah.
something out
I think
here.
you're justified in that take there. I was for the joke and to be like, "Oh no, shut the fuck up. What are you talking about?" But I
Right,
completely
right.
agree with it. So
Yeah.
I can't. I cannot. It is. This would
In
be a
fact,
pretty cool show. Yeah, if I had more time and more
mm,
character work. That I think that yeah, and that's pretty much
because
it.
that is the basis of this movie, like the moral and the idea of the story is very cool, but you got to have something to build upon that, and I feel like you get very limited, even with Eli, who is my favorite character of the movie. The path of the righteous man. He knows what he's doing. He faces adversity along the way, but it does not divert him from his path. That is his path.
Mm.
He does divert to go save Solara, but there's a part of you that's like that was inevitable because he's the hero of the movie. You know he's going to go save Solara. It almost would have been. I mean, I would have been like, "What the fuck?" But it almost would have been more interesting if he decided not to go back and save Solara, and Solara figured out a way out of that situation on her own. Like it's
Yeah. Yeah,
and
he's
those
him
are
locking her in the little water cave. I think that was the first. You're like, really, dude? You're like, I don't like she brought you to the secret. Like gave literally all their leverage. That's literally That's all that they had. Locks her in there. And she calls him out. You liar. You fucking dick. Like you
yeah.
you suck. And he's like, well, yeah, you're kind of right actually,
Yeah.
but I'm on my mission and it's more important. And it's like, okay, um, but he seems to know, that it mentioned her though, because like in all the chaos of the house, he tells Dumbledore and the
Yeah.
cannibal eaters, those nice little old people. Um, he tells them, you know, we'll get out of this, we'll be okay. And then Dumbledore asks, like, what about us? And he goes, well, sorry, he didn't say anything about you.
Yeah.
So sounds like she was in the
Yeah.
plan.
She has divine purpose. Yeah.
And when that happened, I don't know, when he knew of that, if it was from the beginning or not. But I do love like, my family. We've just always been like, is he blind throughout, throughout or whatever. And it used to be so black and white. It's like he either had to be blind the whole movie or he had to be not. He can either see or he can't. But it took us a while to get to the theory, just the thought of like he was given sight,
Yeah.
and whenever he no
That's the
longer needed
most.
it, it was taken away. Or he just it was no longer needed. And
Yeah. That was the most. That's the most biblical story here is that
hmm
God granted him the temporary gift of sight to succeed in his mission because he asks Claudia early on in the movie, like, how did it happen? Was it
mm,
the solar flare? Was it this? And she's like, actually, I was born this way. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, so there is like people who existed prior to the event. A lot of them went blind. That seems to be the fucking thing here. A lot of them can't see anymore because he's like, how did it happen? Was it the thing?
yeah.
Like,
Ooh,
because the thing blinded a lot of people. Um,
that's
so my
yeah. Eesh. That's just an uncomfortable like a thought of like, yeah, if you
yeah,
just were not underground, or if you just were anywhere visible to the sky and you just looked up, boop.
done. You can't
Um,
see anymore. Yeah,
Good. Yep. Bye. Then it's cool that's why his hearing is so good. That's why his smell is so
hmm
good. He's like Daredevil.
yeah,
Basically smells people from a mile away, and even uses it as he's not trying to pick up Claudia or anything, but he's like, I like your perfume. When she's standing all the way across the room, and I guess maybe whenever shit just smells that bad, just shampoo is enough to be like to smell it
yeah,
across
yeah.
the room. That could be true, but he's
No, I think it's a
um,
heightened thing.
yeah,
I loved that moment though, whenever he's like,
hmm
I like your perfume, and she like is like moved to tears. She hasn't been treated nicely in who
yeah,
knows how long, and is like, it's just shampoo, but thank you. Like
yeah,
it's
like,
uh
oh
it's
my
it's a good little moment,
god.
And so this movie does have a lot of good little moments. I appreciate like straight off rip when he is eating the cat, how he shares with the mouse. I think that's adorable. I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was a cute
You'll
little
like
moment.
it. It's
Yep, you'll like
cat.
it's
Like,
cat.
yeah.
Save some for breakfast, like it's a cute it was a cute little moment. And there are cute little character beats like that. But I do wish they were more abundant. I wish we had a little bit more time with Eli as the good guy, not the righteous man. And I keep returning to that, but that's
Mm-hmm.
because I do love, like, my favorite scenes are the ones where he is the good guy, like that, like the interaction with Claudia there, and ultimately, I think my favorite scene of the movie is the reveal. I think that
Mhm.
that's the strongest scene in the movie. But besides that, I mentioned it earlier. It's the one where him and Mila Kunis are sitting down, and she's like been instructed to go prostitute herself for him, and he's like, "No, come on, let's sit down, let's share a meal like they used to."
Mhm.
Like that's not a practice people do anymore because you need food. You have to hoard food or else you won't eat. So he's like, let's share a meal, sit down, let's say grace. Like I love that because it's really human of him. And I think we have increasingly few of those moments thereafter.
It is just
Like
kind of bang, bang, bang
one
after
of my
that.
favorite fucking moments in the movie too was, and it's not the whole scene, but it's just like the culmination of the scene where they realize they're cannibals, and they're like, you want some meat, you want to eat, and they're like, nope, that's okay. And he like grabs the gun and he's like, nope, go ahead and put that down,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna go,
I'm
bye
sure.
bye. And
Yeah.
yeah,
They're like,
and he's like being super nice tonally while he's like holding a gun at them,
mm,
and just the contrast of that, and him being like, all right, Slara, let's go. Come on.
mm.
Hey, sorry guys, thanks for the tea. Bye-bye. And then
Oh,
they have to come right back in. Yeah.
never mind. Back
Yeah.
inside, much greater threat. Whenever your instincts are to holy shit, get away from the cannibals, and then instantly revert back to we
Well,
need the cannibals for shelter. That's just funny. That's just kind of like a funny turn of events. And
yeah.
and then I like the fact that we get hey, do you have any weapons? And then Dumbledore over here is like, oh, dude, I've
I'll
been
show you
I've
weapons.
been waiting
Yeah.
for someone to ask me that question all my life.
Throws up
And
the couch and it's just a fucking armory under there.
yeah,
Incredible.
and and somehow, I feel like in no way am I comparing this to Mad Max, but in my head, with all just the rigs in the desert, barren, the big
Yeah,
guns,
post-apocalyptic stuff. Yeah.
I'm like this like barely walked so that Mad Max could
It's
soar,
crawled. Yeah.
Yeah, like that this was just cuz it did come before, right? This was 2010.
Yes.
Yeah, and Mad
By
Max.
5 years.
Yeah,
5 years.
so this was the first little baby step, It's like, "Ooh, movie in desert. I can do better than that." I wonder what the next little step is. The person that said I can do a little bit better than that. Cuz eventually, maybe I don't know if the step I don't even know if Book of Eli was on the radar, for this even in the first place, but in my head, I'd like
In
to
the eye
think.
of the viewer,
Mhm.
perhaps. Um, Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what could have influenced
A
Fury Road the way that it
desert
was.
movie in between
Desert, post,
2010, 2015.
post-apocalyptic helps a lot too, because they're both in a post-apocalyptic wasteland sort of thing. Um, One of my favorite little tidbits about watching this last night, and I was sitting there watching, and I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, we got some Outlanders here. That's cool. That's cool. Then he gets to the bar and they're like, are you an Outlander? And I was like, fuck yeah, look at that. I was like, okay,
Mhm.
cool. I appreciate that in comparison to Fury Road, which I appreciate infinitely more. Um, but there is a charm to the idea that it isn't that far removed from where we are now. Like maybe 20 years, like it's not a super far removed. People still remember the old gods, they're not worshiping V8 or anything, like
Yeah.
it's a different thing, and I appreciate that angle of it. I like that the world is familiar, and therein it makes it even more,
Yeah. It's
grimy.
There's one thing to like blow up our world in a movie, and that's like that already sucks and just to think about.
Mm.
But then to make our world like a novelty, to make it be like, "Oh, you're from the old world. You're from before." That's like, I
And
don't
that part
know.
when he's
It's
talking to Solara, and he's like, everybody had too much, we threw away things that people kill each other for now. And it's like,
yeah.
yeah,
That like
like,
that's true right
hmm
now. Like that's crazy that that's not the same, like It's not the same everywhere, not even close. Like, it's not even close the same like, it'd be okay if everyone was throwing things away, that we didn't need anymore or something, but that's not the case at
No, it's
all.
not. And
Um,
like when he walks into the bar and he asks for water and he goes, "Oh, that's the good stuff."
yeah.
He's like,
Oof.
"That's top shelf right there. We were hoping you'd ask for mud or piss. I don't know."
Is
Um,
alcohol easier to come
yeah,
across?
I'm like,
Are y'all like, yeah, I don't
you're
think so.
running a saloon here. I'm pretty sure water is basic to everything you could possibly be
Yeah,
selling.
you need water
Um,
to make alcohol,
yeah.
I think, right? Like, it's probably a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, at least a little bit of it,
Maybe they're on the pure. I don't know.
they're just
There's just
they're just on the barley. That's all they need. Um,
yeah, this not a
seems like
fun
the,
world.
but it doesn't
Um,
seem like you can grow shit out here. I'm like, what the fuck
nope.
would they do in running a saloon?
What are
Um,
they eating? Yeah,
yeah,
what are they? How do they function?
that's
People
why. Well, it's
probably.
fascinating that. Well, and that's one of those things that I appreciated when Denzel showed up. They were like, "You're not from around here,"
Yeah.
and he's like, "Yeah, clearly,
Mhm.
like, duh." But
Yeah.
and like he shows his hands, they're not shaking, and they're like, okay, so you don't eat people, cool.
Good check. Good
Yeah,
good thing to cross off the list, I think, in that world. And oh, a product placement that just hit me. We it's there's a lot of product placement here.
which is hilarious.
And it's not
I
an
like
iPod. Like, it's clear, it's like
no,
four
yeah,
buttons, or I don't know what, but like the Beats headphones was good. And
the
the
Motorola speaker when he holds it up to his mouth and just like perfectly on the side, Motorola. I was like, you gotta be
that is
fucking
good.
kidding me.
His backpack is Oakley, and I think
Oh, okay.
Oakley, like, it just, for some reason, it made this backpack seem like if I wanted to go on a Messiah journey, like a God level journey, I needed
You
this
needed Oakley.
backpack. Like, Oakley, that was the vision of Oakley in my head. And then they just made
Yeah.
like sunglasses, and like
Yeah.
that's like their main bag. So it's like,
He's
I don't know.
probably rocking
Hmm.
Oakleys. He's
Oh, they
probably
probably
wearing
are.
Oakleys.
I didn't think
Um,
about that. Yeah, his glasses are probably okay.
yeah, no, I mean, like, that's
Hmm.
one thing I will say for this movie is that I remember when it came out.
Hmm.
Like, the marketing campaign for it was poignant because I can remember a lot of it. I can remember stuff. It's like the Book of Eli coming January 2010.
Hmm.
Like,
This summer,
yeah,
watch Eli walk
on the
west
journey of a
for an
lifetime.
hour and 30 minutes straight. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
No,
or
and that's like,
hour
and that,
hour 58. Oh, okay,
yeah, no, it's
yeah,
almost 2 hours. That's why I'm like, that first 45 minutes could have been 20 minutes shorter.
yeah.
And there's no doubt about it. But no, I do like when he shows up to the bar though, and he slams that dude's head on the counter, and then he like slowly dies. I think I don't, like that
Yeah,
guy.
passes out, dies.
Pretty sure he dies. I'm pretty sure he just slowly dies there. Like he hits his head so hard that he's like,
He's
oh fuck,
internally bleeding or something,
I'm
maybe,
going to
and
die. Yeah, like his brain's
like,
bleeding
oh
or
shit,
something.
like,
Um,
yep, there I go.
yeah,
And yeah,
um,
he knew, he started to walk out, and no, the people weren't gonna let that happen. I think that's probably my scene.
it's
Overall,
strong.
it's just it that is enough to build the world. Enough there. Get to the town, charge it up. Have to go over there because it's the biker guy. That's
Mhm.
done. You yell stop, boom. Like, I don't know. There's not much. Just do that early. Do that way earlier and grab the attention more. And then I don't know. The rest of the things that happen after that are good. It's just you got to get there. So I think that is probably my scene. But yeah, I mean,
Mm.
character
Yeah,
and performance wise is just. I mean, there's no
it's
real debate
Denzel.
here. It's just, yeah, and that's why I picked the movie in the first place. Was for Denzel. Now that I think about it, man, it sucks that this is the Denzel movie that I pick. because he has many, many more. I know that he has greater movies out there than this, but at least he's the shining element of this,
Hmm.
and that's for sure.
Oh
Um,
yeah. No, it's
so
he's definitely good. Damn, I'm looking through some of the trivia. Denzel Washington shed 50 pounds in preparation for the role. Um, got his
okay,
ass into
Denzel.
shape.
Okay.
Um, I was looking at the that one your favorite scene, the speech she gives is taken from Genesis 3:17 through 19, where God expels Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden, um, which is an interesting little tidbit.
Okay.
Um,
Little forbidden fruit action. These people have been
hmm
partaking in the wrong things. Slice their heads off. Okay. Justified? I don't know. But cool action
Ah,
sequence nonetheless. Um,
yeah, all right. In Arabic, Hebrew, and Aramaic, Eli can be a variant on the name of God. The suffix I indicates first person singular possession, i.e., my El or my God,
hmm.
Eli.
That's
Um,
kind of cool. Um,
yeah.
that might be like if I ever have a son, that's like in the rotation now, just because like that's just kind of sick. You can wrap your name around to me, God.
Yeah, Eli.
Damn.
It's
Um,
pretty dope. That's pretty dope.
okay. Yeah. Um,
Ah. Okay, the screenplay for this movie was featured on the 2007 Blacklist, a list of the quote most liked unmade scripts of the year. So it was written a few years prior to it actually being adapted.
hmm.
Um, just kind of being shopped around. This is interesting. There's some like I was looking for something a little more specific here, but
Hmm.
it is interesting. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. One trivia about is just a shot in the movie. The moment that Eli is shot, a bolt of lightning is seen in the background, and yeah, it made for a pretty cool shot. It
it
was,
did, it
it
did.
was one of my potentials. But I'll actually go with whenever they're in the nuclear silo, um, and it's kind of there. It's just him and Solara in the nuclear silo. He stands up and he's like perfectly in the crack of the like silo, and Solara's like sitting down by the fire. There's a campfire in there, and it just looked really cool. There was some leaves like overgrowing a
Mm,
little bit. I mean, I think that maybe there's not leaves actually, but it seemed like that was the only sort of any sort of life
yeah,
that was in the movie, and so that's why I don't know. I kind of
I
kind of
like that.
liked it,
I like
but.
that. Yeah, my shot came minutes in. It was like one of the opening ones. It was right before the title card pops up, and it's like he's at the bottom corner of the screen. The ground is perfectly level with the bottom, and it's just a huge sky. Thought it was pretty. I was like, that's a good way
Mhm.
to establish what this man's doing. Um,
Yeah.
and I thought it was effective. Another interesting bit of trivia here: Kristen Stewart turned down the role of Solara due to conflicts for Twilight, New Moon, the second Twilight film. Um, which
Kristen Stewart. This could
Got to
have been
imagine. Got to imagine that would have
Kristen.
made Solara a little more interesting. Mostly because
Yeah.
I think Kristen Stewart's incredibly talented.
At least more
But you know,
talented
you got to.
than
She
Mo.
made a lot of money. She made a lot of money doing Twilight. Kind of
Probably
afforded
yeah,
the
way
opportunity to
more.
do anything she
Yeah,
wants.
probably way more than
Um,
she would have made on Book of Eli. Um. So yeah, good choice there. Good choice to stick with the franchise. Um. Yeah, I wonder who else. Who else? It would have been nice just to have. I don't know who else has Solara. Someone like I'm terrible with like people, and especially when I'm trying to think of like 2010
right.
people. Like
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
trying to,
like
but
around this time. I don't know. See, the thing is that Solara when it comes to the young, like they had to have been young, that kind of does throw a wrench into things. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. That's the thing is that the character's not well formed at all.
yeah,
It's just
that's
she's
true.
just kind of there. Um,
needs to be more work overall, not just a better
Yeah.
actor, just kind of
Yeah, I mean, like the character needed more work. In
yeah.
fact, there's a possibility that Mila Kunis would have been perfectly capable of portraying some of the stuff that Solara could have done if the character had been any more interesting. Um, and that's the thing is that like ultimately all the characters end up being pretty one dimensional, which in a biblical story makes sense, but like would
Yeah.
have could have
We're in
used
a
a little
movie
bit more
though.
fleshing out. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
we're in a movie.
exactly. Um,
So,
but yeah, so I ultimately come away again happy that I've seen it. Happy that I've now watched it. Um, it'll be interesting to see how it does on the rating side of things. Are we about there? You think?
hmm yeah. Yeah, I'm there. I've gotten through everything. Um I guess
I don't. I don't know if I
other
said
than
my
line.
line.
Yeah, other than
Yeah,
lines, I think were the only thing.
gotcha. Yeah,
But
my favorite line was definitely it was during the conversation between Carnegie and him and Eli early on, where he says, "As old as we are, me
mm,
and you, we are the future," which ends up being the case. It does end up being the case for Denzel. He ends up, blazing a trail and writing the new Bible essentially, um,
mhm.
which is very cool. Very cool. Writing the old Bible, but you know, he is without it. There was, never a Bible. They say, like we couldn't find one. So it was a cool little detail that I appreciated. Um,
Yeah, glad just an overall happy ending there. It's like
yeah.
it filled the bookshelf. You got every other book there too, and it's like at least it. I don't know, just a very very happy Eli. It felt like he just died of old age, but like it more feels that like it's just once this was done, his task was over, and like it was just like he
Hmm.
wasn't even. I don't know. He was like supposed to die when he got shot. I don't know. The dude
Yeah.
was, but just holding on
He
until
was
the
invited to the kingdom of
yeah,
heaven at the
mm-hmm,
end.
yeah, and so and I like the antithesis, Gary Oldman. Just going to town. I don't know. Usually I knew him as just Commissioner Gordon. A good
Hmm.
guy, but it's interesting seeing him as this kind of just evil archetype and
Yeah, he's
but
he's a talented actor, man. He's been in a lot of good stuff. I liked him in Basquiat. He was really good in Basquiat. He was really good in, funny enough, War of the Planet of the, or not War of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the
hmm,
Apes.
okay.
The second one, not Rise, but Dawn, I
I
think
need
is
to
the
get to
second.
those,
Um,
man. Yeah, I
he's
need
good in
to.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, I like Gary Oldman. I mean, he's great as Harry Truman and Oppenheimer, if you'll
Yeah.
recall.
Okay.
Um,
True.
Brief
Yeah.
scene, but he is there.
He liked. Yeah. He liked to call all that for him. Sure. Go
Mhm.
ahead, man. Claim it if you want. It's just that's a
Go for it, brother.
weird thing to claim, brother. But yeah.
Independence proud, baby.
Um. But yeah, I think. Oh, I guess my line. I didn't. I went for much more of a funny one, or much more of just a Denzel action line. It's whenever he walks past the tunnel and the girl's acting like she needs help to for the just to get people, I guess, good people that want to help, just to then mug them and I don't know, like probably kill him. I don't know. I'm assuming that's the assumption. Take everything,
Hmm.
but Denzel's, he's too smart. He says, the good thing about no soap is that you can smell hijackers from a mile off. And that's, I don't know, they all come out and they're like, holy shit. They're like, wait, what
Look
the
at
fuck?
you.
They even kind of
Yeah.
mention it. They're like, wait, what the hell? You can
Look at this
smell
guy.
us?
He
Yeah,
could
like,
smell us 30 feet away.
but
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
We're still going to come up and do our stuff. But yeah, yeah.
You
You,
put that hand on me again, you won't get it back. I was like, okay. That was,
it's
it
channeling
reminded
some
me of
Frank Thomas, channeling some, is that the
yes.
character
It was
or
Frank Lucas.
Frank
Frank
Lucas.
Lucas.
There it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, that
Um
okay. That didn't sound right. Am I
Frank
melding
Thomas
two?
is a yeah, well,
Um,
Frank Thomas is in was a baseball player for a very long time, very
okay.
talented baseball player. Hit tanks, Frank Thomas. But
Not his American
gangster.
gangster or I mean his one with Training Day.
Ethan Hawke, Training Day,
Yeah. What's his character name there?
Alonzo.
Okay, yeah. So not okay. Never mind. But he's yeah, a little bit of Frank Lucas is what I was
Yeah.
going for,
No,
definitely.
and
But
that line delivery, like it's nice to see like having John David Washington in the game now and kind of watching him do stuff. It reminded me of like I ordered my hot sauce an hour ago. Like right before he goes and beats their asses. Like delivering like that badass line before beating ass. Like it's cool. I like that we have these two in the game now, and
mm,
I like one of my favorite nepo babies there, John David Washington. But
I feel like yeah, good. This is a nepo baby I can get behind.
yeah,
If it's just acting, I don't know. I guess like the money and the fame and all that's still there, and all the problems I don't know could come along with it. But I don't know, as acting, they're
seems
both
like a
good.
talented gentleman. Yeah,
They're
yeah.
both good. He's got big shoes to fill.
Oh, he does.
But
He does. Um, but yeah, then I'll do the plugs. But after the plugs, we're gonna rate this movie on a scale of 1 to 10. It'll be a fun one. We'll see where this lands. We are going to do our album of the week. Me and Joe both presenting an album of the week, and I'm very excited.
hmm
And I will announce what next week's cinema surprise is. And I'm very excited for that. I had a tough we'll get to it. We'll get to it. But if you would, head to patreon.com/pennybloom where you'll find over 100 hours of exclusive content, all sorts of book reviews, comic book reviews, movie reviews, and early access content. For $1.50 a month, you can support this podcast financially, which is huge because it costs me money and I don't make any off of it unless it's over there. Head to Twitter, follow at Penny Bloom Pod, follow on Instagram and TikTok at Penny Bloom Podcast. You can watch on YouTube now. Uh, just look up Penny Bloom Podcast. We're there. You can see our beautiful faces. We like seeing, you can see us. It makes you feel like we can see you. There's a little bit of a more personal connection there than just the voices. I know that whenever I rarely watch podcasts, so whenever I finally saw the faces of the people I listen to, it was it's funny because you usually, I don't know about you, but if I don't know the face, I assign the voice to a familiar face,
hmm
and I don't know. So it's interesting, and it's always fun finding out what the people you listen to look like. So if you just listen, you can watch on YouTube. Look us up on Penny Bloom Podcast, and we're there. Um, but yeah, remember to leave a 5-star rate and review and download wherever you might be listening. Go ahead and show this episode or show the show to one person, just one guy or one gal or one them, anybody, anybody's cool. But all are welcome here. How are we feeling? 1 to 10. What rating did your gut take you to on the enjoyment wise?
I just kind of said it's around a 7 because that's when stuff gets good. And I have the reason I'm up to 7, if I would say it's good, is because I just have a lot of attachment to it. There is history with this movie, and Denzel is just one of my faves. There's other things. This watch that I had was definitely the most bored that I have been. That's for sure. Like I was bored. I never want to pull out my phone during a movie, but I almost wanted to like do my laundry while the movie was going on. So like
You
that's
remember when I
not
sent you the graphic
mm,
that I made for the episode? I made it during the first 45 minutes of this
yeah.
movie at some point.
So I don't really know if I can really claim like a 7 and say that
Yeah,
it's like
no.
almost good. And
My ceiling was 6. I'm like, because I do think there are a lot of movies I would not watch before this. Um,
what's this say? Do we have something in that range? Was an Avatar? Okay, no. I was going to say
they're way
Chappie.
lower.
Yeah,
They're
they're
way
they're
lower.
they're down. They're
Um,
down. 6.5 for Last Night in Soho.
I gotta
I
be honest, I like Last
I
Night in
would
Soho
watch that
more.
before. I
Yeah,
would.
I do like Last Night.
I would
And
watch
so
that
that's
before.
the other difficult thing that I hate to confess. It has to be above this threshold. I won't watch this movie again. I don't think I'll ever watch Book of Eli again. So but like it is one of those weird ones where it is above a 4 even though that's the case. We've
Mhm.
kind of declared that like if you know you're never going to watch it again, 4 is kind of the ceiling. I don't feel like that's fair. I do enjoy this movie more than other movies I won't ever watch again. It's just it's not like that's why my ceiling is 6.
It
It's
had the
above average.
bones. Yeah,
Yes,
it
it had
just
the bones. It had the bones.
didn't quite
It has
get
a good
there.
moral. It has a good idea. I like a lot about the movie. It's just the execution's a little poor, and that affects critical more than it does my enjoyment. However, my enjoyment is a bit influenced by that. So my gut took me to 5.75 or 6, as far
Okay.
as what my rating was.
Okay. Well, do you want to if we're going official, do we want to stick with the official numbers? Um I guess if
Oh
we
yeah,
each
do we
have
want to
to.
take an average of our two?
Mhm.
Okay.
Casablanca was easy because we both
Yes,
agreed
yes.
that it's
Yeah,
just
that was this is
kind
the
of
first
where
time
it
we're
is.
really having
So
to
it's
implement
yeah, we
this.
actually have
Um
to be here.
okay. I
Um
will go 5.75 then. That
okay.
is what I will say is my enjoyment of this movie.
Okay. And I think I'm in the sixes. Um and I think like 6 or 6.25 is really all I can give it. I can't 6.5. That's Sicario is what we gave like Sicario was like a 6.5,
Yeah.
and I would watch Sicario before I'd watch Book of Eli, but I'd probably not watch Sicario again either. So it's kind of
Yeah, yeah,
in
it's
that same
that yeah,
same
same
vein,
vibe there.
but
Is like
less. So I think half a point less than Sicario makes sense. So I think I'm at a 6 myself. So we're pretty close,
okay.
pretty close
Okay.
there. And then that would, I guess, just oh, I can actually yeah, I can. Well, before I just kept it as a 10. I didn't actually have to take the average of our things, but now I actually have to. Um, but but I guess critically, um, I don't really know. 5.88 now. Now I don't know. I guess that's now the overall will have like
That's
mucky
closer
numbers, you
that's
know.
closer to a
Um,
6. Let's call it a 6. That's kind of how I'm looking at it.
So
Like
you wanna maybe just if the average
we'll
doesn't
take
work
the
out,
average,
then
round it up to whatever the nearest one is. So if it's closer to a 5.75, it's barely closer to an 8 or to a 6, so we'll go ahead and give it the 6.
okay.
That I'm comfortable doing that. That's not one of those things that I'm going to get too horribly hung up on when we're talking 0.12, like it's
Okay.
fine. So 6 is
Okay.
cool with me. Um yeah.
And
I said
then
take the average, but we'll round up. That's kind of how I'm at. That's where I'm at in my head.
okay.
Um, critically, this is an interesting one. Um, again, we're looking at a movie that has the bones.
Mhm.
Um, and it has
7
Denzel.
mm, yeah, it's like
No,
7 is
5.
good. It's below that. Si Is it middle of the road? This is as middle
I
of the
think
road
it's
as you
an
can get.
I think it's an extremely middle of the road movie. I think it could have been more well directed. Wasn't the worst direction I've ever seen. It could have been far better written. Wasn't the worst writing I've ever seen. It definitely had the bones. It had some really good performances, far from the greatest performances I've ever seen, but it also had a couple bad performances and far from the worst performances I've ever seen though. So it
I'd
ultimately
say
does feel like a perfect middle of the road, maybe a little north of it.
I'd say I agree with you, but I do see that there is a little bit of a bump, I think, of of midway. I do think that the action sequences alone, um, plus Denzel, plus Gary Oldman, like
Does
yeah,
help.
minus Mila Kunis in some parts, but she does have moments in which she does add to the movie.
Mhm.
And so
My biggest minus is the literal writing of the film. I think that
mm-hmm,
in a movie that the story was so integral, it
it
could have
is the
been more
story.
well
It
written.
is the Book of Eli here,
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
and
so I mean,
um,
I'll give it that bump north of 5. I'm perfectly comfortable with that because you did make some good points. The action is really, really it's strong. It
man, visually, you're right. This was like dull. Like there's like nothing really, or like I don't know if there's a visual compliment I can really give. Like I
I
mean,
mean, I'll give it something. It's very stylized. I like the vibe that they've set up. I like the
mm,
post-apocalyptic. And
it's
I'll clarify,
grainy.
I don't particularly like that vibe, but it is a vibe. And if you can capture a visual language and you can commit to a visual language, I think it's a plus ultimately. It might not be
Hmm.
for me, but it probably is for someone. Um, at least it's not bland. It is going for something, and that I
Mm-hmm.
can respect. Um, so 5.55, 5.75.
Yeah, I
I can
went
be convinced there.
I went 5.5. That's just kind of like I. It's not much more than middle of the road because I mean the story and writing of a movie that has to be the most important part at the end of the day,
Mm.
and performances and stuff can only elevate it so much. And I think once you start getting up in the sixes and stuff, that's when we're talking things are starting to be good. Some I don't like, but five I don't know 5.5 just seems like it's that perfect middle ground.
I can agree
Um,
with that. I'll go 5.5 as
so
well then.
okay, then that's easy. No averages needed there. Um, your personal ranking would be a 55.8. Mine is a 56.7. So I mean we're like a percent off.
55, 56. Okay.
But the overall with a 6 and a 5.5 is going to be a 56.7 percent.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, little
56.7%. 57
57%.
for Book of Eli. Not
Um,
bad. Not bad
mhm.
at all,
So what did the
Not great, but not bad.
good old
Um,
IMDb 6.8 on IMDb out of
yeah.
10? We are harsher
We are
than
harsh.
IMDb.
Even
Um,
Letterbox I think gives this a 3.2, which if you put that
hmm,
out of 10 is a 6.4.
I think I
So
gave
like
this a 3.
I gave it a
A
3 as
three and a
well.
half. Yeah,
Um,
that's getting tough. That's I don't know, but the three.
that's why the 5-star
Yeah.
scale is a little different than the 10-point scale. There's just
Mm-hmm.
something that feels wrong at a certain point. Like I rarely give movies a 2-star because I'm like 2 stars, that's fucking awful. But I'll give
Yeah.
something a 4 out of 10 and be like, it wasn't terrible.
And
It wasn't
2 out
great,
of
but it wasn't.
5 feels
Yeah,
wrong, but it's
yeah,
actually kind
but
of close to the rating we gave, like a 5 out
yeah,
of 10, which just feels I
yeah,
don't know, like
exactly. Like
bad,
yeah,
but okay,
no,
yeah,
I'm with you. I'm
56.
with you.
Um,
57
definitely
percent. That's not bad. That's not
w-
bad.
we came in a little hot, it was a visual and an auditorial masterpiece. I feel like with Tron and or maybe not masterpiece, but and then we got the masterpiece with Casablanca, and then now we return to form. We got the clean slate. This is the palate cleanser. I feel like
Yes, yes.
after Casablanca, and now
Let's
anything will be good. I feel like.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do the albums of the week because both of our albums of the week do tie directly to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It feels relevant, and then I will announce what our movie next week will be.
Okay.
So you go ahead, take it away. What was your album of the week?
Okay, well, when Eli kills that cat and he pops down his iPod and he puts his beats in, he picks a song. He chooses Let's Stay Together by Al Green. And that is the name of the album as well from 1972 that
Mm.
I'll go with. And crazy enough, whenever I was staying over my sister's house, the vinyl collection I listened to, this was one that I pulled out on random to listen to. Um, I just remember this cover. Like I would set it the album on display as well, so I would be able to see the album whenever it was
You'd
being
get the
played
full
too. Yeah,
experience. Yeah,
and
yeah.
this was one that I remember, and there was part of me also. We texted off recording about how like if this is if you've seen a picture of Al Green, this is probably the picture you've seen, and that felt right. Even but when I was at my sister's house, that felt right. So like I felt like I've seen him in this
Right.
album before I even listened to it, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
and then now that Eli,
It's like
picked
this
it.
and the greatest hits. Those pictures are the
Yeah,
most notable Al Green picks, but
yeah. Um,
great album, dude.
But
Great album.
yeah,
Um,
I don't know
how c-
one that I can't really pull out any particular song that I like. It is one that I just put on and let play.
dude,
And
it's a fantastic album.
mm-hmm.
I listened to it
Oh yeah.
today as well. The standout for me was How Can You Mend a Broken Heart? Um, God damn, is that a good song? How Can You Mend a Broken Heart? What is this feeling? That's a really good one.
Mm.
Um, I mean, Al Green's got a couple good ones. I ended up listening to I'm Still in Love with You as well, which is another impeccably good album with Oh Pretty Woman. Oh, pretty woman,
Mm.
walking
Mm-hmm.
down the street, pretty woman.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
like you've certainly heard that one. So like, yeah, it's fantastic artist, fantastic soul singer, and love some Al Green. So good choice there. I'm going with one that Eli does mention by name in this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison, a live album recording that took place at Folsom Prison in California. Um, it was a it was something that Johnny Cash was really passionate about. He really wanted to do it. He was kind of in a lull in his career, and
Hmm.
he'd he'd gone and seen a movie at Folsom Prison. Like there was some sort of screening for a film there, so he watched it. It inspired him to write a song, which you have heard, called Folsom Prison Blues, which it made him imagine what life would be like in those walls. I hear the train a coming, I see it round the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know
Mm.
when.
Mm-hmm.
I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. That Johnny Cash song. Um, that's the first song. And so he performed and recorded this entire album live at the prison with the
Oh,
inmates there to
damn.
listen. Um, and it's really fucking
Whoa.
cool. It's really cool. You hear them interact with the crowd. You hear them respond. You hear, like uh in between songs whenever they're like prisoner 11876, if you could head to the, like head like it's
Wow.
operational hours, we're out of prison and he's recording there, putting on a concert for him. And it's such a good album too, man. And obviously I pointed to Folsom Prison Blues because that's the one most people will know, but the song that is referenced directly in this movie is actually Greystone Chapel, which is the
Mm.
final song on the album. But I think if I had to pick a favorite aside from Folsom Prison Blues, I would go with either Dark as the Dungeon, which is utterly incredible, or The Long Black Veil, which is a an extremely moving song. He even has a song on here that was written by an inmate at Folsom Prison that he decided to perform for
Damn.
the prisoners, and it's about how an inmate, his cellmate was getting out, and he wrote about it like he's gonna miss him like a brother, and when he gets home, tell everybody that he misses them and that he loves them, but that he's never gonna see them again. He's never getting out. Da, 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 da. So like
Damn.
it's a heavy album at points, but goddamn, could Johnny Cash perform? He was so fucking talented,
Hmm.
and one of those ones that I semi grew up on some Johnny Cash. My dad loves Johnny Cash, so big big influence on my taste, Johnny Cash. So Johnny Cash live at Folsom Prison and Let's Stay Together by Al Green. A couple good
Mm-hmm.
albums of the week, both inspired specifically
Yeah.
by the Book of Eli. So um, love that. But next week, the next cinema surprise. We were talking, I had a tough time. I had a tough time officially deciding, but
Mm.
as it grew closer and closer, one kept emerging. It was like, this is the one. This is the one I'm going to pick. Um, Next Friday will be the 55th anniversary of the Stonewall riots beginning. We're in Pride Month, a huge, huge queer moment in history, Stonewall riots. Felt right to go with some queer cinema. We were recently talking about how you needed to get more 20s movies under your belt. Before we get to the end of the year and we do you know, the halftime heat check on the 20s. We're going to do a top 50 movies of the 2020s at the end of the year. So I might utilize this project to throw some more at you. Casablanca it's one of my favorites of all time. You hadn't seen it. Let's do this. Now I'm going to show you some good shit you just haven't seen is probably the case.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I'm going to go not just 2020s, but 2024 with my pick. As next week we will be covering Love Lies Bleeding,
Mm-hmm.
directed by Rose Glass, starring Katie O'Brien, and as mentioned earlier in the episode, Kristen Stewart. Um,
Wow.
so
Love the little tie. That is
yes,
one little tie we can make. I don't think
yep,
there's a connection between Casablanca and
the Book
Book
of
of Eli that we
Eli,
can.
probably not. But hey, there was no connection I could make between Tron and Casablanca.
That's true.
Um,
Yeah. We.
uh,
But okay, Love Lies
But no, yeah,
Bleeding.
Love Lies
Well,
Bleeding will be our next one. It's I I was debating whether like how I should like sell it to you, like how I should, build it up because I could lie and tell you it's a really fun lesbian romantic comedy. This movie's tense. This movie's intense. And
okay.
it's fucking good though. Intense in a really like fun fucking way. Like it's more thriller than it is drama, which is good ultimately, I would say. So yep, next Friday we are covering Love Lies Bleeding here on the Penny Bloom podcast. So come on back for that. We will be happy to have you. With that, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. Remember, peace, love, and bloom. And I fought the good fight. I finished the race. I kept the faith.